Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the Monday edition of the Yard. And it's been a busy day. It has been. A lot going on, kind of behind the scenes involving Mississippi State. Some baseball portal activity going and coming. And we'll do our best to kind of get you up to speed on that. A lot going on. Yeah, for sure. And I got some football recruiting updates on the show. Got three guys in the next week or so that are going to announce their decisions. We feel really good about one, pretty good about another, not so good about the third. And so we'll talk about that on the show. I'll share with you what we've learned. It's one of those things that I've learned too. It's like I'll sit down and I think, okay, I'm going to record the show this morning. And then the phone starts ringing. It's like, hey, well, this may happen and this may happen. So you're thinking, well, I want to wait until that news breaks. And then it doesn't. So here we are. So I'm going to do my best on Wednesday to get it done in the morning. A lot going on. This is the last week, too, for me to do the brushing up of the dude. And then it's all completely out of my hands. It'll go off to typesetting, and they'll take the Microsoft Word document and turn it into book form. And we'll get that back and just kind of look for any mistakes or anything like that. Not really editing, just to kind of make sure the format's good. And then it heads off to print, folks. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that all of this kind of came to mind back in November. Now here we are getting ready to go to print. These writing books that are research related take a lot longer because you've got to do a lot more fact checking. When I wrote When the Bottom Falls, which is about my life, kind of what I've learned about recovery and things of that nature, you don't have to do much fact check in your own life. When you're writing about somebody else's life, it takes a little more time. It does. But I've been very meticulous with this. That's not to say that I haven't made a mistake or two. I'm sure we'll find some mistakes in the first edition, but that's the beauty of the first edition. It's not always perfect. It's kind of beautifully imperfect. So if there are mistakes, we'll fix them, but nothing major, But one of the things, too, doing my own research, I found, too, it's so crazy. You look through our record books, and you look through our opponent's record books, and you look in the M Club book of athletics, and sometimes none of the three agree. Sometimes the dates are different, sometimes the scores are different, sometimes the locations are different, and so then you got to do more research and figure out who's right. And you'd say, but Steve, it's just one game. When you're writing a book of this magnitude, you have to be as meticulous as you can be with your research to ensure, because there's never been a book written about Duty Noble. I mean, he's been mentioned in some books, but there's never been a book written about Duty Noble. And so when you're writing the first one, the definitive history of a person's life, you want to give it the same care you give your own. Get it right. So I tell you something I kind of stumbled upon last night. If you didn't read it, I wrote an article called The All Dude Team. It's like the lineup that I would put on the field based on the players of the Duty Noble era as a coach. Yeah, you can go read that for free over at Gene's page. It's out there on my socials as well. If you need it and can't find it, let me know. I'm happy to send it to you. But one of the things I think is interesting, Clay Hopper was a great baseball player at Mississippi State, a great outfielder. Great. Not just a dude, not just a guy in a lineup. Great baseball player at Mississippi State. Was a player manager for a long time. Ended up being inducted into the International Baseball Hall of Fame as he coached Montreal for a while, all in the minors. And maybe you've seen the movie 42. And if you haven't, let me encourage you to watch it. It's great. I couldn't wait to go see it in the movies. Could not wait to go see it at the movies. And I actually went twice. Went with my kids, went back with Dana. It's that good. It's a great movie. But Hop, who was Jackie Robinson's first manager, is Clay Hopper. Yeah, little did you know that a former Mississippi State A&M player was Jackie Robinson's first ever professional manager. And it's interesting, too, Clay being from Mississippi, he was kind of like, hey, this is going to be an issue, it's going to be a distraction. And then after he got to know Jackie Robinson, Jackie completely won him over. And may end up writing about that someday. You never know. But in the end, it was Clay Hopper, former Mississippi A&M star, that recommended to Branch Rickey that it was time to promote Jackie Robinson to the major leagues and the Brooklyn Dodgers. Little did you know there was a Bulldog involved in some of the greatest moments in baseball history, not just collegiate baseball history, but in the history of the sport. I've made some challenges before to some people. If you give me any of those legendary players, if you give me a name, there's a good chance I can put an article together where they played with or against or had some type of connection with a Mississippi State baseball alum. It's true. I wrote an article here, a couple years ago, called Bulldogs and the Babe, about all the Bulldog players that faced Babe Ruth in their career. And you may not know this, but Willie Mitchell, the first collegiate baseball player from the great state of Mississippi, threw the first ever perfect game at Mississippi State, Mississippi A&M at the time. I'm sitting here looking at his rookie card right now. Willie Mitchell struck out Babe Ruth in his first professional at bat. Yeah, there's the maroon thread in all of baseball. It is. You give me a name, chances are I can find it for you. Buddy Meyer, part of the Washington Senators' rivalry with the New York Yankees. Got spiked by Ben Chapman. Ben Chapman also in 42. You may remember Ben Chapman. He's from Nashville, Tennessee. Ended up dying in Birmingham. Was a wild guy, man. And he was the manager that gave Jackie Robinson all of that trouble in that movie. It wasn't just Jackie Robinson that he targeted. He targeted Buddy Meyer, too, because Buddy was from Jewish descent. Ended up getting divorced for allegedly beating his wife. That's Ben Chapman. A lot to it, man. But a lot of these big personalities in baseball you can find. Ben Chapman played for the Yankees along with Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth, and that was in Buddy Meyer's era, who played 17 years. And I'm so thankful to Sanders Ramsey, and everybody involved with the Ron Polk Ring of Honor Committee that we were able to get Buddy in this year. It was a very big deal to me, and I don't know what it means to you, but when I think about the fact that the Diamond Dog with the second most years of Major League service, only second to Rafael Palmeiro, was not recognized anywhere in our stadium, I thought that was an injustice. And I'm very grateful to Saunders and everybody involved for righting that wrong. We still got a little more to go. We got to get Willie Mitchell in. That's probably the guy that I'll stump for this year. Got to get William Jennings in. Of course, he was the founder of Bulldog Baseball out of Grenada, Mississippi. Maybe you didn't know that. But, yeah, we got to recognize these people. Because we have more tradition than the casual fan even knows. There are a lot of people out there that think, well, you know, we started playing baseball when Clark and Palmeiro and ESPN got here. No, we started 100 years before that. And that was one of the reasons I did the all-dude team. Many of you may know Dutch Amsler. Dutch Amsler, yeah, you know him, lived to be 102. A lot of people called him Colonel, yeah, because he ended up being a bit of a war hero after he was done playing ball here. One of the best outfielders of that era. How about that? Maybe you didn't know. Go check that article out. Maybe some names, and maybe it's your grandfather. Maybe it's your great uncle. And it's so interesting, too, that today I have connected with Clay Hopper's his nephew, and trying to get a better picture of him for the book. I mean, I just think it's worth that. And then Monroe Mitchell, a guy, Willie's nephew, that pitched for Duty. He was a winning pitcher in our first conference championship under Duty Noble. Had somebody else contact me just yesterday. They got Monroe Mitchell's college scrapbook, baby. Right? So we're going to go look through that and see if we can't find something to publish too. And even if we can't, just to see those relics of our baseball past, man, that is just amazing to me. Amazing. I love it, man. I do. I love it. And as I tell you guys, just to my right, I have every Mississippi State baseball player that's made the show that they made a baseball card for. I have them all. Just about all of my rookie cards. You know, Boo Ferris, Buddy Meyer. I've got them all. I got to get Jordan Westburg. I thought about that today. I was looking through my stuff. I said, I got to get this taken care of. So it's in my cart. I just got to figure out if I want to buy anything else. My birthday's coming up on Wednesday, so I'm going to buy myself something because I know how this thing works, right? You know, it's so funny. I'm middle-aged and married, right? Dan asked me earlier this week, what do you want for your birthday? I said, you know, I could use another wireless mouse because the one I have, I've right-clicked it to death. And so it's very difficult at times to get that right clicker to work. And it's a stressor in my life. If you could get that for me, I'd be extremely happy. And I don't know that I really need anything else other than that Jordan Westburg rookie card. Yeah, so Wednesday's the birthday. And then, listen, let's all celebrate my birthday on Wednesday. And then, you know what, take the day off on Thursday. right? We'll celebrate longer tonight on Wednesday night. We'll celebrate the birth of Steve, and then you guys can take a holiday on Thursday to recover. And even if you're not celebrating with me, you can celebrate on my behalf. So there you go. And I don't want you to buy me anything. Please don't. Please don't. If you got some more Mississippi State memorabilia you're ready to throw out, though, I'll take all that you got. I got stuff up here I hadn't had a chance to index yet. I so love that. Like when people are like, hey, we're downsizing, Steve. We're empty nesters now, and we're going to move into a smaller place. And the wife says, I got all this stuff I don't have any room for. I'd like for a good bulldog to get it. Well, that's me. I'm a good bulldog. And I've got an archive. I keep all that stuff up here. I've got an office that's about as big as most people's living room. And I keep all that stuff up here. And just recently, I got a box of old Dogs Bite magazines and newspapers from Bulldog Fan that said, hey, I want these to go to good use. You can rest assured they will go to good use here. And what's so funny, my son has asked before, and she goes, hey, Dad, like when you pass away, can I have all that stuff? Like my wife is like, well, I think we'll probably gift all that stuff to the university, And my son's like, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do that. And I certainly would like all my baseball cards to stay in the family. But nevertheless, let's get into our show today. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm happy today. Maybe you can tell. Happy today and ready to get some more baseball commitments out of the portal. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. Hey, let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company. Just yesterday, I told you guys how great it is to get something to go with the Eat With Us group. We had Harvey's last night. My favorite place to eat in Starkville, without question. And again, same situation, right? They have taken this eating out thing to the next level and then the to-go order to the next level. And the service is always so great. Like whenever time I go in there are sometimes people don't know who I am. Like there's new students that come in town and things like that. And so it's not like I'm getting preferential treatment. They'll be like, hey, can I help you? Other places I go to, hey, Steve, what's going on? But the level of service is so great. When I go to Bulldog Burger Company, they all know me because I've got a man on the inside there. My younger son, Ian, of course, is a server there. But I love going to Bulldog Burger Company, and I love eating at any of these Eat With Us restaurants because there is a standard of excellence that is always met. There are a lot of people out there that they talk about excellence, and they're willing to settle for mediocrity. I am so glad that we have a great group of restaurants here in the greater Starkville area that just refuse to uncompromise their standards. I mean, they absolutely hit it out of the ballpark every single time. When I go to Bulldog Burger Company, I know that I'm going to have a good experience, and you will too. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. Pick out one of those great rock and roll hamburgers. If you're a newbie, let me tell you, let's go with the Bulldog, right? You can't go wrong there, right? Because maybe you're not ready for an exotic trip, maybe. And then maybe the next time you come in, maybe you get the smokehouse. Next thing you know, man, you're a Bulldog Burger regular. 3 great locations to serve at University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowood area. Get the chocolate shake to go. That's a nice thing that they can do there for you that maybe it's not available in most places. Get that chocolate shake to go, and you can ride that ride home with a smile, partner. It's true. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet, M-E-A-T. Okay, perhaps you've heard, maybe, perhaps you've heard. Today is officially the first day that Oklahoma and Texas are a part of our SEC family. I don't know how you feel about this. I think, number one, it's going to bring more money for us, and it's going to also shake up the frequency in which we play certain teams. And I like the fact that we're going to get some new trips, right? I've taken them all, but I love being able to take new trips. Of course, I have been to Norman, Oklahoma. I have been to Austin, Texas. But I've never covered Mississippi State playing at either place. I'm excited about that. So, with those guys coming in, and we'll play at least one of them in baseball next year too, and I'm not sure if it's home or away, but we'll play one of those two in baseball next year. But it'll be interesting, right? It'll be interesting with them in the league. I think it may help us in some sports more than people realize. I think that's probably a good thing, Maybe not so much on the football side, but you know what? If you tell me I don't have to play Alabama every year, I'm kind of happy with that. But I don't know that Alabama is going to be what they have been without Nick Saban. It's just my personal opinion. Just my feeling about that. Maybe you see it differently, but that's how I feel. But I'll tell you what, let's take a quick look at what Texas and Oklahoma are facing this year as they get ready to play. And, we're going to be part of a trivia question. I don't know if you knew that. It's true. All right, Texas opens up the year with a home date against Colorado State. Should be a dub, right? You think? Well, then they go to defending national champion Michigan. I don't know what Michigan's going to have. They got some guys back. They lost some guys too, but it'll be interesting to see. But that's a tough non-conference game in week 2. They're back home to play Texas San Antonio and then Louisiana Monroe. So let's say, just to be conservative, that Texas is 3-1. On September 28th, it will be a historic moment in the history of Texas football. It's true. It's their first ever SEC game will be against Mississippi State. Yeah, as a member of the SEC, their first ever league game in our conference will be against us. So that's the answer to the trivia question. We haven't played it yet. Now, I don't know if you guys have made your plans yet, but I will be in Austin, Texas. That's going to be an afternoon kick. So need to plan ahead. Probably drive up on Friday, go to the ball game, come home on Saturday, maybe be late for church on Sunday. But we got to go out there to Texas Memorial Stadium. And that'll be cool, right? We went out there with Sleepy Robertson in 90 maybe? Anyway, early 90s, 91. And, Jackie, 2-0 against the Longhorns as the Mississippi State coach in the regular season. Of course, we lost the Cotton Bowl to them there in 98. Technically 99 because it was a New Year's Day game. Well, then the next week, they're off. And then they have the Red River rivalry over at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. But, they get the bye week after us. So that's a tough assignment for us. Truly it is. But, again, it's interesting that we will get the distinction of being the first ever SEC opponent in the new SEC era for Texas. And then all of a sudden now the Texas OU game is a conference game. What's Oklahoma got back this year? Not sure. They had some good moments last year. And you got Georgia making its way to Austin, Texas. That could be awfully interesting. And then the first ever road game in SEC play for the Longhorns, they go to Nashville. They get to go to Vanderbilt. And I'm sure the people at Vanderbilt are, this is great. We'll get Texas in here. And Texas is like, we have to go to Vanderbilt. You talk about taking over a stadium. There'll be a lot of people, a lot of Texas fans, because it's a novelty for them, right? Like, we get to go to Nashville. You kidding me? Let's go. And then they're going to see that Vanderbilt football stadium and like, oh, yeah. Oh, he's right. But nevertheless, that's their first road game and will be their first road win. The next week, Florida goes into Texas. And then they go to Fayetteville. And you start looking at these road games and you start thinking, you know what, Texas kind of got a favorable schedule on the road in the league. Final home game will be against Kentucky, and then they go to A&M. That's going to be one of the wildest games in recent memory in college football in the regular season. Regardless of the implications. I mean, I don't know that if there's a Nashville Bowl or a Florida Bowl on the line by the time we get there, but that's going to be a November 30th Saturday kick. We'll have played on Friday. We'll be able to sit at home on Saturday and watch all these great rivalry games. That's going to be a barn burner, regardless of the records. So, again, working through here, you think they're 3-1. Guys, we're going to have a tough time in first year under Jeff Lebby going to Austin and beating Texas. I mean, let's just kind of call it for what it is. So let's give them a dub there. You never know what's going to happen in the Red River shootout. Let's give them a dub there. It makes them 5-1 as Georgia comes in. I think Georgia gets them. I think Georgia's going to be simply too talented, but you never know what teams are going to look like then. So I'll make them 5-2. Of course, they're going to win at Vanderbilt. Makes them 6-2. I think Florida's a team. Of course, they're playing for their coach, right? But it's tough, man. They're not going to win. So again, Texas wins there. Arkansas, Arkansas might get up and play that game. I just don't think they got the horses. So let's give them a dub there. Kentucky's got to go to Austin. We'll give them a dub there. And I don't know what to expect from this A&M team. I think they're a little more talent deficient than people realize. But you start working your way through this, Texas could put together a really good year. Texas could be a playoff team in year one in the SEC. Let's assume they lose to Michigan like we talked about. That's a non-conference game, right? And then the only game you look at here, you see this Georgia game could be really tough, Steve, but it's in Austin. It's huge, man. It really is. So, yeah, I think Texas has a really good year this year. I do. Of course, with they got skill. And so it'll be interesting. But I hope that you will make plans to attend with us September 28th as we make our return to Austin, Texas. Let's look at Oklahoma. Today's episode brought to you by Zippix Nicotine Toothpicks. Zippix brings you a totally satisfying, convenient, and great tasting way to curb your nicotine cravings. Now you can get your nicotine fix anytime, anywhere without having to rely on smoking or vaping. How cool is that? Zippix toothpicks give you an easier, better, and more discreet way to get your fix. They're available in 6 great, long-lasting flavors and have options in both 2 milligram and 3 milligrams of nicotine. Zippix are perfect for flights, sporting events, restaurants, and literally everywhere else that smoking and vaping are banned. They're also one of the most cost-effective nicotine products on the market. Zippix also offers caffeine and B12 infused toothpicks. If you're not a nicotine user, or if you're trying to get away from the nicotine habit, wouldn't that be a good thing? Zippix have already helped tens of thousands of customers get their nicotine fix without needing to inhale smoke or vape bowls. Make your lungs happy and try Zippix nicotine infused toothpicks. Ditch the cigarettes, ditch the vape. Get some nicotine-infused toothpicks at zippixtoothpicks.com today. Get 10% off your first order by using my code BONEYARD at checkout. Your lungs will be glad you did. You must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix nicotine toothpicks. Looked at any of this stuff? I would say probably not. Oklahoma opens up with Temple at home, then Houston at home, Tulane at home, and so they're 3-0, right? Right out of the gate, they're 3-0. And then they get Tennessee in Norman. I like Tennessee. I think Josh has got it going in the right direction, and this will be a big game for them. Be a huge game for them because Hype's going to want to go in there and win. That's going to be a tough one. I think it's a toss-up right now. Oklahoma then goes to Auburn. There'll be a capacity crowd for sure. And then Texas in Dallas. And then they get South Carolina in Norman. They go to Ole Miss. That might be a helmet sticker win, but they're certainly not going to catch Oklahoma looking ahead because Oklahoma gets Maine, the Black Bears, that next week. And then it's at Mizzou. And then at home to close it out against Alabama. The final game of the year is at LSU. So I think Texas gets the better draw of these two schedules. But you start running this thing down here. Oklahoma last year, first year without Jeff Lebby, this year, but last year they were able to score a lot of points. How much of a change is there going to be, offensively? They went 10-3 last year. And again, you're kind of looking through this again from last year. I mean, you knew what Texas had last year, but Oklahoma lost at Kansas last year, and Kansas was really good. Lance Leipold doing a good job there. They lose the rivalry game. Bedlam at Oklahoma State. So back-to-back losses, and then they kind of bounce back here and finally lose that game to Arizona to end it out. And you just, they just kind of. Arizona kind of got it going late, but a bit of a surprise there. But yeah, they're a solid bowl team. Do they make the playoff? I don't think so. I think they're going to bear the brunt of the SEC move more so than Texas because, again, I think Texas got the more favorable schedule. And, again, you start running through this thing here. They're going to win off 4 non-conference games. There's no question about it. None whatsoever. And then it's the Josh Heupel Bowl. The road game at Auburn, I don't think Auburn's going to be able to do much offensively. But that could be a fun game. South Carolina, I think Shane Beamer probably coaching for his job this year. That's going to be a tough assignment. Of course, Beamer got some connections to Oklahoma, too. It's a big game for him. I just don't know with all the changes there. We'll see. And then the road game at Ole Miss, you can say what you want to. This Ole Miss team is built to win this year. And that's kind of a helmet sticker win for Ole Miss if they get them. And then Oklahoma goes to Mizzou, and then they close out at home against Alabama. And I don't know what to expect. And, of course, the road game at LSU. But I don't know what to expect from this Oklahoma team. But, I mean, you look at this, and you could make an argument. There could be 3 or 4 losses on the schedule. The Tennessee game is not going to be for the faint of heart. And, again, let's not forget. I mean, Jeff Lebby left Oklahoma to come here, so there will be some adjustments. Do 3 non-conference games get you primed and ready for an SEC game? Well, it should under normal circumstances. But with Josh Heupel coming in and the offense that he runs and the fact that he'll be a little motivated to play well against his alma mater, I could see Tennessee winning that thing. And then, of course, I think Texas gets them. And I think Ole Miss probably gets them in Oxford. I think that today. Now, I may feel differently come October 26th. And then you get Alabama. Even though that's at home, that's going to be a tough one. And then you got to go to LSU. It's always tough to play 9 games at LSU. It is. And I suspect that's where that one will end up. So, again, I think Oklahoma's a solid bowl team. I don't think it's a great year. And I think some people in Crimson and Cream are going to be like, you know what, we didn't get the favorable schedule that Texas did. And I think there's an argument to be made there, but, it's the SEC. Every schedule's difficult. It is. That's how life is. But welcome to the SEC. I don't know how I feel about this, but, I think in many respects that, the money will be good for Mississippi State. And there's some things that I want to talk about later in the show as it relates to athletic budgets kind of moving forward. Very important aspect of things. So we're going to need the money. But I think in many respects, the conference scheduling is going to take some getting used to. It really is. But again, we're going to get some unique trips. We're going to get some matchups that we rarely ever see. I mean, it's going to be a great time to be a college football fan because you're going to be able to see new rivalries and you're going to be able to see old rivalries renewed. I know Arkansas is excited to have all those Southwest Conference teams back in the league. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And I can't wait. I can't wait to be able to go to their campuses. And, I just have a chance, to see our team on the field in a new venue. I love road football and baseball. I do. I love it. I love being able to go see our teams play. And there's so many of you fans that maybe the only time that you get to see Mississippi State play is when we come to your neck of the woods. And I think that's a real treat. I know that when we were at Charlottesville for Virginia, there were several fans that said it's so difficult for us to get back to Starkville. So it's nice that the Bulldogs came to see us. And I think that's a super cool thing. And we got a lot of great Bulldogs out there in Oklahoma and certainly in Texas that you guys will have a chance to kind of play host to us. And we're looking forward to reconnecting with our cousins out there. It's true. And you'll get a chance to go see some Bulldog football and baseball and basketball kind of in your own backyard. That's always a great thing. But if I had to call it today, I think Texas may be a playoff team when it's all said and done. If things fall the way they should and they get the quarterback play they're expecting, going to be really good. Oklahoma is a little bit different deal. But and again, first-year coordinator type situation there. There will be some growing pains, but they have that ramp up before they play the Heupel Bowl. So that'll be one of those games, too, that a lot of people are going to want to tune into. I suspect there'll be a lot of Oklahoma folks that want to stick it to Josh, even though he did some major things when he was there. But I'm excited about that aspect of it, not just from a Mississippi State point of view, but just because as a fan of college football, to be able to go see some matchups you don't ordinarily see. That's one of the things that we've loved about the Power 5 mandate, right? Even though some of that's about to be canceled, get ready for that. But I think when you look at it, we had a chance to go to Arizona. It probably cost us the LSU game, though, because we were hungover, jet lagged. Took us forever to get going. We still should have won that game. We blew it. But all that I understood, going out there. When will we ever have a chance to go play, in Tempe again? When will that happen? Maybe never in our lifetimes, right? And so I think it's important to make those trips. And there's a lot of travel this year if you're a Mississippi State fan on the football side. Of course, we got to go out there and play Arizona State, and we got to go back and then play Texas. So we're going to be moving west a little bit, but it's what we love. We're passionate about it, and that there's those of you that say, you know what, Steve, I go to the home games, but when we're on the road, I like to have everybody over, and we'll grill some steaks or make some big salads, and maybe have some curry. I don't know what you do. You enjoy your life. And so, we just all tailgate at the house. We just have everybody over, and it's a social event. And so my hope is that you'll enjoy having the opportunity to do that. There are a lot of people, of course, that it's very expensive to travel at times when you've got a large family. It is. But I think the novelty of this, going to Arizona State and going to Texas for the first time as a conference opponent, I think it's worth doing it. I think you're going to want that ticket stub. You're going to want those souvenirs. To be able to say you were there. I don't want it to be like the Alabama game, November 1st, 1980, when, I was there. And about 2 million people also claimed that they were there. And you and I both know better. And I'll share with you this, too. Somebody recently, I won't tell you who, but we talked about memorabilia. Somebody recently called me and said, hey, Stevie, I understand that the first game you ever saw with your dad was against Alabama in 1980. I said, yeah, that's true. He goes, do you have a game program? I said, I don't. He goes, let me send you one. And so now I have a game program to remember that by. That's I would never forget that day in my life, but to have that program to be able to give to my children at some point, part of my memorabilia collection, to be able to have that and say, you know what, this was the first game that my dad went to with his dad. I think that's a pretty special souvenir. And while we didn't buy one at the game, I now have one from the game. And I think that is an amazing thing. So again, sir, thank you very much for thinking of me and my family. All right, time for today's top 10 list. As always, brought to you by closewithblair.com. C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. Blair Chandler is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. Blair's number, 601-500-2344. Again, that's 601-500-2344. Guys, Blair has been in this industry 23 years. Whether you're looking for a game day condo, as I say all the time, maybe more affordable than you think, give Blair an opportunity to work up a plan for you. Maybe your future retirement home anyway. Just come up here to Starkville. You'll enjoy it. Go to Bulldog Burger Company whenever you want, right? But here's the deal. If you go to the website, get some information on Blair, let him get you pre-qualified. That's a smart thing to do. You want to see a motivated real estate agent, get that pre-qualification letter. They know they're not wasting their time. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, like, hey, can they afford this home? Is it above their means? You find out pretty quick, and that way you're shopping for homes in your price range. Very, very important step in its process. And Blair knows how to structure loans to get them through underwriting too. So if you're a person that maybe has had some trouble in the past, reach out to Blair. Perhaps he can help you. It's true. Maybe looking to refi. I don't know. But no matter what your mortgage needs are, Blair Chandler likely has a solution. All right, our friend on Twitter, the Stank Leg, at Leg the Stank, or Stank the Leg, whatever it is. He mentioned to me we had not done Rival Sons. And we have not done Rival Sons, and I'll tell you, this is one of the best vocalists in recent years, and he referenced a Miles Kennedy interview, and I believe it was with Eddie Trunk, about great vocalists, and they talked about Rival Sons. And Miles Kennedy, who I believe is one of the best vocalists of this era, kind of threw a tip of the cap to Rival Sons. Huge, huge vocals, and they're very pure. It's not a contrived thing. So here are my top 10 Rival Sons songs. And one of the things that I'm going to share with you about these guys are a bit of a throwback. Kind of that over-modulated sound of the 1970s with a modern twist. But these guys rock, man. They do. They rock in a classic way, though. It's not like this over-processed thing you get these days. And I love that stuff, too. It's a combination of kind of the industrial dance-type rock music. A lot of things are kind of built around the riff, and you add like a digital track behind it It's a dirty word these days, but everybody's doing it. But here you go. These guys can really play and really sing. Rival Sons. Number 10, it's the Memphis Sun. Memphis Sun, number 10 on my list. I dig this track. This is going back, I don't know, almost 15 years towards the beginning of their catalog. I think you'll dig that one. Number 9, Tell Me Something. Like this one a lot too. Again, it's one of those songs that really rocks. 8, Tied Up. I don't know if you know much about the Rival Sons catalog, but Tied Up, very, very good. Very, 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 very good track. Number 8 was Tied Up. Number 7, Back in the Woods. Like this one a lot. Kind of an airy track. Kind of what you'd expect for a song titled Back in the Woods. I like it a lot. Number 6, though, probably one of the better songs in the catalog. And I thought long and hard about where to place this one. It's very introspective. It's a track called Where I've Been. Right? And I think we all think about that too. One of the things that I think is interesting too, when you look at this more philosophically, sometimes we forget that our past is created by our present, right? And so we think about all these things in the past, and the things that I have learned about that is if we stop fueling the fire of the past, it will exhaust itself, right? If you keep thinking about it and you keep dwelling on the past, it becomes part of your present. And I heard somebody say, kind of a euphemism too, if you've got a foot in the past and a foot in the future, then you're peeing on today. There's probably some truth in that. And all we have is today. We hear that all the time, but the reality of it is if you want to put some mileage between you and your past, then focus on having a very positive present. You begin to stack up good days, and all of a sudden your past doesn't look so bad by comparison. It's true. I have struggled with that many times in my life. It's like I can't move on from the past, can't move on. But eventually you begin to realize, too, that if you continue to live there, you make no progress here, right? You just can't be handicapped to that. I mean, we're just going to take the rearview mirror and knock it down. And so that's part of the deal. I'm just trying to focus more on where I'm going than where I'm coming from, right? And I think that's an important aspect in life too. It's so easy to get bogged down in things that we can no longer control. And one of the most profound things I've ever heard in life, and I've shared this with you guys before, and I wrote about it in When the Bottom Falls, is we can't change the past, but we can change what it means. There's some truth in that. There's so many things in life that, listen, we're living an imperfect life surrounded by imperfect people. And sometimes we get involved with them and probably get too involved with them. And the next thing you know, they pull us down. And that's one of the things I've learned in recent years, is that you need to ensure that your good friends are good people. It's true. There are a lot of people out there that are good friends that may not be good people. And then, they may support you and become a co-conspirator in your own demise. It's ultimately your decision. But, when you got people in your ear all the time telling you do it, a lot of times they're just trying to bring you down to their level. It's like, oh, well, they're no better than me, I've had some people in my life that I thought were great friends. And then in time, I kind of realized, you know what? This person's a negative influence on my life. And you got to move on from that. You do. Got to forgive yourself for your mistakes too. That's one of the most painful things and difficult things to do. We make a big mistake, and sometimes we forget that we're human, right? And I would venture to say, especially as an adult, there have been a lot of times that I've done things because I wanted to do it. And I look back and I realize, you know what? It wasn't what I thought it would be, right? There's so much of that, So you got to forgive yourself. We're born of a sinful nature. Doesn't mean we have to wallow in it. All right, number 5, Electric Man. Like this one a lot too. The guitar on this one really kind of stands out to me. I don't know if you like guitar. I do. People with long hair and guitars, that's kind of been my thing over the years. Thanks to Ace Frehley, who was, the guy that, as I mentioned on Gene's Bed yesterday, my first favorite rock star. But Electric Man, could really kind of go along with that as well. Number 4, Sweet Life, right? Every day is a gift, guys. It is. Every single day. And every time I turn around, the older I get, the more I'm losing people around me, even at middle-aged. There are people around me that, I tell you, I have been around some people, if I can get it out, like when I go back home, right? Starkville's home now, but when I go back home, to South Mississippi, I see some people doing the same things they were doing years ago, and I see so much age in their face, and I don't mean that from a physical point of view, but like in their eyes, I can see how tired and exhausted that they are. And I think in some respects, we're just kind of playing out the string, waiting to die, and I just refuse to live that way. And I think, whenever you stop dreaming, I used to always say whenever you stop listening to new music, or you stop buying new music, you start getting old. I think there's some truth in that. But, life is what we make it. And I am determined to do as much epic stuff as I can do before I'm done. Because I feel like I got a second chance at life. And it's never too late to write a new ending. We hear about that all the time. And it's never too late to start again. It's never too late to put your foot in the ground and saying, you know what, this is it. I'm making a change today. And it doesn't matter what it's about, right? I spent a lot of time talking about recovery on the show. There are a lot of people recovering from things outside of chemical dependence, though. A lot of people are recovering from bad relationship decisions, And one of the things that I've learned about that too, there are a lot of people that are very bitter and hate the world for their own bad decisions. It's true. Life has not been fair. Well, a lot of it's because you haven't been fair to yourself. You get involved with people, they bring you down to their level. Next thing you know, you're having kids with them, and then you're kind of stuck with them in some respects. And so I just shared that because, we are the captains of our own fate. It's true. Number 3, Pressure and Time. Love this one. This goes back to the second album. The song came out in 2011. I think you'll dig this one. This is one of those ones, too, when he really shows off the vocal range a little bit. And I think that's important. Probably my gateway song is number 2. I had heard about Rival Sons, but I'd never really taken the time to really investigate them. And there's a great music video that goes along with this song, and it is a super, super cool track called Keep On Swinging. And it's kind of the way that we live life, right? I don't know about you, but I reached a point in my life when I got tired of getting beat on. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I just got tired of somebody beating on me. I just started hitting back, And sometimes you just got to learn how to roll with the punches and get your guard up and get out of there. There's some people out there that kind of like psychic vampires. It'll take all the life out of you. But you got to keep rolling, man, because you never know. I mean, you just never know. You keep taking chances, man. One of those sad things to me is, the people that reach a point in their life, they feel like they're no longer useful. It's just like, hey, I can't afford to have dreams anymore, Steve. I'm just here to pay for everything for everybody else's. That's just not true. I've been there before, too. I got old in my 30s, man. I did. Got really old in my 30s. Felt like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm just the ATM and the chauffeur for everybody else. And at that point in my life, that was probably true. And then as my kids began to get older and become a little more self-reliant, I began to realize there was more to life than just me being a parent. Now, nothing's more important than that, but there is more than that. And there are a lot of people out there. I'm not being judging. I'm just kind of saying it for what it is. But there are a lot of people that get lost in that. They lose themselves. I had a friend some time ago, and that's one thing. I used to always paint, and I love to paint. I love to get out and create things, and even if I didn't sell them, I just love to do it for myself. It was a great exercise for me mentally, just to create something. And I said, well, why did you stop? I said, well, I just don't have time. I said, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to schedule some time this week, and I want you to paint. And then send me a picture of it. And now that person sells paintings as a side business. Yeah, how about that? And that's not to give me credit for that. That person already had the talent. But sometimes we kind of forget who we are, trying to be everything to everybody else. You have to have something for yourself. That's the greatest form of self-care there is, to be honest with you. There's so much of that nowadays. We kind of label selfishness as self-care. It's true. People don't like to hear that, but it's true, because there are some people, all they ever do is take care of themselves. You got to learn to give of yourself, but you also have to have something for yourself. And I tell you, I get books a lot. People send me their books, and I like to be able to get a chance to read them, and I've got a stack of them here to read. But John Marble, I don't know if you guys know John, and John recently wrote a book, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it's getting great reviews. And it excites me to see the exuberance of John. And I don't know him that well. I just kind of know him from Facebook. I think we've met before. But it excites me to see somebody like John, who has never written a book before, to say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and it's a goal for me, and then he does it, and then people have found some joy in that. And it's the name of the book is Immaculate, IMMAKULATE, and that's it's got some baseball in it. And John's from he's from Jackson, and he actually sent me a final draft to read. I just didn't have time to read it in the middle of my own book writing, but it makes me proud. And of course, he's a Bulldog too, and so it's always good things. And it's so interesting too. Like, I've had some people that, not specifically about John, I've had some people in the past, like somebody else will write a book and they'll say, well, what do you think? I said, man, God bless them. Good, best of luck with it. I don't feel any sense of competition. I think the more that we have in our literary community, especially involving Mississippi State people, is a great thing. I'll give you a good example of that. Like Chase Parham, Chase, that the Ole Miss writer. I had multiple people that messaged me after he wrote his book, Resilient Rebs, and said, hey, what do you think about this? I'm thinking, great. I mean, he's selling books to people that I'm not going to. Right? I mean, why would he not write a book? I wrote a book about our national championship. Why would somebody not write one for them? And it would have been a missed opportunity had they not. But there's room for all of us. It's true. There is room for all of us. And you know what? You may not make the bestseller list. You may not even make the Mississippi bestseller list. You may not sell more than 100 copies. But if you write what's in your heart, and you write something that matters to other people, even if it only matters to you, it's important. There's a feeling of accomplishment of taking your idea and then turning it into something tangible. And so whether it's music or art or writing or poetry, sculpting, whatever, if you are artistically inclined in any way whatsoever, let me encourage you, do not forget that part of your life. Number one, kind of an interesting segue. Number one is do your worst. And that's kind of how I feel too. That's the old British expression, You think you're tough? You do your worst, Basically, send Hemingway your best shot. Right? Pat Benatar. But yeah, I love the track. Again, it's a rockin' track. Most of these are. It is a throwback, right? And so you kind of get that old classic rock feel with kind of a modern twist. I think you're going to have fun with this list. I do. Rival Sons, a lot of fun. Super talented band. There's a lot of people these days kind of covering up their mistakes with all these computers and programs and auto-tune, and God bless them too. But these guys, the Rival Sons, are the genuine article. Absolutely phenomenal band. It's a shame that it's taken us this long to get to them, but I want to thank the Stankleg for the idea. He said his son's a big fan of Rival Sons. I hope his son approves of my Rival Sons list, and I hope you do as well. But if you're looking for great vocals these days, very natural, organic, singing vocals that come from a good place, Rival Sons may be the band for you. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out and let us know, whether you do it on Twitter or other forms of social media. I'm on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. But Roy Samanti, my friend, who will float for the first time this week, is the keeper of the list. And you can find him on Twitter and Spotify at Dogmatic67, DAWGMATIC 67. And if you need to come float, you should. Now's a good time. The busy day today, for sure. Busy day today. We were booked out 7 and 8:30 tonight. And it's a half day for us on Mondays. But, yeah, really, really busy day today. And so if you are looking to get in, I encourage you to do it before the students come back because, it's a little more open right now. We stay pretty steady, but there's a good chance, no matter when you want to come, there's a good chance there'll be at least one opening for you. And so you can call Dana at 662-268-7601. And she'll answer your questions and tell you about availability. If you don't want to talk to anybody, you can just download the True Rest app, and you can book online. Just sign up for booking online. You can book on there, fill out your waiver and everything else, and you got to be there for your first floats. You got to be there 30 minutes ahead of time because there's some instructions and things like that. But floating has been a game changer for me and for many others. We have one gentleman that comes regularly and floats 2.5 hours at a time. Yeah, you can do that too. A little more expensive, but you can do that too. Yeah, we encourage you to be a member. It makes your floats a little more affordable, but they're never super expensive anyway. But if you've got chronic pain, anxiety, or stress, we may be able to help you. We may be able to have a bit of a solution to kind of give you a break from all that stuff. So again, Dana's a registered nurse, so reach out to her, 662-268-7601. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. I love Campus Bookmart. You will too if you don't already. The best selection of Mississippi State merchandise on the planet. It's as simple as that. A lot of people make the claim, but they are pretenders to the throne. Next time you're in town, go by and see their smiling faces and procure some new Mississippi State merch for yourself. Mom, you know you're going to want everybody wearing fresh clothes on vacation. Get them some new Mississippi State gear. Nothing fired me up more as a kid. You get there and they got a gift for you. You open it up and it's new Mississippi State gear. You couldn't wait to get school started so you could wear your new gear, right? When you didn't wear uniforms. We didn't when I was a kid. But nothing better than wearing that new Mississippi State polo or t-shirt or ball cap. Everybody loves it. Nobody has too much Mississippi State merchandise. It's true. So what you should do is add to your collection. If you can't make it to town, then visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75, and you order less than $75, absolutely incomplete. All right, let's talk a little football recruiting here. Could be a good week for Mississippi State. We got about a week to 10 days. There are 3 players that are expected to make their announcements this week. The first may be 247 Sports 4-star Cortez Thomas, defensive back out of Holmes Central High School, if I can get it out, goodness gracious. Out of Holmes County Central High School, that's the correct nomenclature. But I like Cortez. Had a chance to cover him last couple of years. Went and saw him play in person a couple times. The most recent was at Indianola Gentry. He and Gavin Howard, who was one of the top defensive back prospects in the class of 2026, kind of ruled the roost there. Cortez is a guy that was on campus twice in the month of June. There for the 7-on-7 tournament. His team won it. Came back for his official visit. He has told me it's a list of 3. It's a State, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. Now, he has only taken an official visit to Mississippi State. And there was a lot of chatter right after his visit that he was close to committing to State. He told me that Sunday, I'm going to need about a week. I know that there was a push to try to get him in the boat. Former teammates with Corey Ellington and Kamari Rogers, who were both aiding in the Bulldog pursuit of Cortez. It'd be great to have him as part of this class, not just because he's got 4 stars next to his name, because he is a very talented young man. And we're trying to rebuild the secondary and kind of, get some – we got some portal guys to kind of serve as a stopgap, and we'll probably get a couple more this year in December. But the reality of it is that Cortez is a guy that could come in here and probably be a contributor maybe after a redshirt year. He already knows where the weight room is, but all those guys kind of need a year to kind of get up to speed. But you remember Corey Ellington didn't. Corey Ellington came in. A lot of people kind of even panned the commitment when we got him. I loved it. And Corey has been up and down at times, but played early in his career and made some plays for us. Kamari's been kind of banged out, but Holmes County has been really good to Mississippi State in recent years. And I'm expecting him to commit to Mississippi State. He tells me it's either going to be a Wednesday or a Thursday decision. So on Wednesday, maybe we're kind of previewing this thing again, or we're talking about his commitment. He's just not exactly sure when he's going to do it. I joked with him when I spoke to him today. I said, Wednesday is my birthday. He laughed. And, I like him a lot as a person as well as a player. There are a lot of these young people, you kind of get to know them a little bit, and sometimes you're a little intimidated, as a reporter calling and things like that. I've had a chance to interview him in person, and we got some pictures, kind of let him keep the gram fresh and that sort of stuff. And so got a good relationship with him, and he will make a fine player. Again, he could surprise us, but I don't expect that. I expect it to be Mississippi State when he announces. Now, I may feel differently come Wednesday, but as of now, I think it's pretty apparent he is going to be a Bulldog. And I think a lot of it's got to do with personal relationships. That's the thing, too. Had we not had a coaching change, he's probably already committed. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't have had a coaching change. We absolutely should have. But it took some time for him to kind of build some relationships, with Matt Barnes and Corey Bell, and I think that those relationships have been very good. Darcel McBath was on him really hard for a while, and listen, there were some guys that were very loyal to Darcel that got in the portal. Said, you know what, I don't like that Darcel's not retained, and so we're going to move on. And again, if we make a coaching change and retain Darcel McBath, I think Cortez is already in the boat. But it's taken some time, probably longer than we anticipated, but it does appear that things are going to happen this week. Now, Kyle Johnson from Bunkie was another guy that we thought, listen, Houston was the leader heading into his official visit to Mississippi State. Now, I don't know if you know much about Bunkie, Louisiana. There's not much to Bunkie, Louisiana, but those folks up there know how to have a good time. Really good people up there. I know a lot of people in Acadiana, and of course Bunkie a little bit north of that, up there in the Voles Parish. But a town of about 4,000 people. And so you start working through this, you begin to kind of realize, too, that, kids from Bunkie, probably the biggest town they go to regularly is Alexandria. And occasionally you may make it down to Baton Rouge for a game or some big school function or something. And maybe you get down to New Orleans. But these kids are a little different, and I don't mean that in a negative way. They are just kind of down-home, blue-collar type people, a lot of industry there, a lot of people in the farming industry and the crawfish industry, and they even host a Louisiana Corn Festival in the month of June. Did you know that? I bet you didn't. But, it's an interesting dynamic here, choosing between Starkville, which is a place that's bigger than Bunkie, but also a place that that has a similar value system. And then, of course, there is the big town of Houston. Yeah, one of the biggest cities in the United States. And so sometimes guys want to experience something different. I did. When I grew up in Columbia, Mississippi, moving to Hattiesburg was like, moving to another country. So I felt, just down the road, and I've been to Hattiesburg so many times, there was so much more to do, places to go, things to see, a lot more things to be involved in to entertain myself. But I wanted to move back too and have my children have the opportunity to live in kind of small town Mississippi. And so at this point, I don't know what Kyle is going to do. I felt very optimistic shortly after his visit, and then he took a visit to Houston last weekend. And I think he took that, number one, because he wanted to keep his word. They were the leaders heading into our visit. And then now all of a sudden, Houston has a chance to try to undo what we did on the visit. The question you got to ask yourself is, what's the better fit? You get a chance to play in the SEC. I really like Kyle Johnson's tape, and I think that he is a guy, too, that could probably come in here and do some things. But, we'll have some more information as we get into Wednesday. His announcement is scheduled for July 4th. So it's 2 announcements this week. Now, looking ahead to early next week, there's Jalen Morgan out of Rockville, Tennessee. I love this kid's game. I do. And we're out there swimming with the sharks trying to get him. That aspect is true. The finalists, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi State. Now, Florida hadn't done a ton with him, but Georgia has. Georgia had him in for a little scavenger hunt thing, which is kind of like Big Dog Camp without the workout. They only bring in like the big-time kids, guys they're really serious about. And I was told prior to our visit that some people believed he was a private commitment to Georgia. Did some digging and told that wasn't really the case. And they weren't sure if Georgia was going to take him. Well, then Georgia takes him in on an official visit the weekend after hours. You're not going to bring a guy in June that you're not serious about. You're not going to bring a guy in June that you're slow playing, right? And 2 weeks prior to that Georgia visit, I was told, they're kind of, I'm not sure. Well, apparently they've gotten sure, starting to see some crystal ball picks in favor of Georgia. And I said some time ago in the Bones that I felt that he would make Georgia tell him no before he committed somewhere else. And I've had some other people tell me I'm incorrect in that. Maybe I am. But now here we are, and it does appear Georgia's ready to take him. So if Mississippi State gets him, they will have beaten Georgia head-to-head. This is not going to be a situation where State gets him by default, where he had a bunch of springtime offers and then State's kind of the last school standing. The fact that Georgia brings him in on an OV should say a lot about their interest level in him. And so if I had to call it today, I'm leaning more towards Georgia. I may feel differently this time next week, but that's how it looks today. Now, some other names to kind of bear in mind, there's some big-name guys in Mississippi that Caleb Cunningham, we're going to be patient with. And I'll be honest with you, the only school that really worries me is Alabama. And it's not because it's Alabama. It's because it's closer to home than a lot of the other schools that are recruiting them. I didn't worry about Florida. I didn't really worry that much about Auburn. But Alabama's a little different because Alabama, again, you're talking 80-something miles from Starkville. And so it's not that far away, and it is Alabama. And, of course, there are a lot of people that are using our anemic history of getting wide receivers drafted. Even during some of the glory days of Mississippi State football, we haven't had anybody drafted as a wide receiver, since Justin Jenkins. It's been forever, right? Now I expect that to change under Jeff Lebby, the way we're going to throw it around. But I thought that was the case under Mike Leach, too. I thought we would have some guys that would get drafted. Mekhi Polk, of course, went undrafted and signed a free agent deal, but ultimately didn't make a team. So that is something that people are using to kind of negatively recruit against Mississippi State. And you can say, what's negative? What's true? It'd be one thing if they're saying, hey, Mississippi State does this and does that. But Mississippi State says, hey, listen, we've had a ton of guys drafted here at wide receiver. Mississippi State hasn't. Now, of course, it's a new regime here, so it's not really a fair characterization. But it is a factual thing that we have not had a bunch of receivers drafted. And that is one of the things that is part of that conversation. But that's really the only team that really bothers me right now. I do think it's a long process, and I think Camario Taylor and those guys are working really hard. My crystal ball pick has been in for Mississippi State for some time with Caleb, and now he's traveled a little bit. But there was some talk that he may make a decision this month. I'm told that's probably not going to be the case. We haven't had a chance to bring him in, and even if he does officially if he does commit to Alabama, I do think he will visit Mississippi State before the decision's over and done with. That's important to understand. Kevin Otis is a guy that, quite frankly, I think he probably should have already committed, probably in his visit, but I don't think that he's a guy that can let this thing kind of tarry on. People say, but Steve, look at all these offers. I think he is a guy that blew up very early. I don't know what his options are right now. Like if he called to commit at all these schools that are recruiting him, I'm not sure how many of them would take him, but I know Mississippi State would. I know David Turner has made him feel like a priority. There was some discussion about him doing it this summer. We thought he would do it in June. Now there's talk about doing it in August. And one of the things that I am learning, a lot of kids don't understand, the December signing date is December 3rd. It's not the 20th or the 17th. It's the 3rd. So you're not going to have the opportunity to take visits in December. We talked about that last year. So many of those kids, you had 2 official visit weekends in December. Well, if you played the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game, then you had 1. So you found out pretty quick, right, who was serious about you and who wasn't. A lot of players talked about we're going to visit Ole Miss and Mississippi State, but when you get done with your season, you had to pick and choose which one you were going to go to. Some went to Ole Miss, some went to Mississippi State. Well, this year you're going to have to get all your visits done before the end of the season. And we don't have official visits for a while now. And so we get through June. That's one of the reasons Mississippi State had 30 kids take OVs in June. Because you better get them while you can get them. Because it's so difficult in season. That official visit in season is a more difficult prospect. Because, okay, you bring them in. They have a high school game on Friday. Well, then they get there late, right? They drive up after the game, they get checked in, and it's a Saturday-Sunday deal, so you basically lose the benefit of Friday. Well, then Saturday's a game day for you. And your players can all be, attentive to that. Of course, after a ball game, they'll go out and be their hosts and take them around. But what if it's a night game? And so the in-season visit doesn't have the luster that December visit did. And the fact that you're not going to be able to visit this year, it's going to change the dynamic of these visits. Because before, guys come in on Friday night after their seasons are over and our regular season is over. And they come in and hang out with players on Friday night and take all their tours on Saturday, hang out with the players Saturday night and have breakfast. And, hey, it's a fun-filled weekend. It's just so difficult to give these guys the attention they deserve on a ball game weekend. It's true. It's true. Now, maybe you bring some guys in during the open date, but do you want your players to hang around for that? I mean, there's some guys, obviously, that want to go home and see family and, put their feet on their mama's table. And so you're asking an awful lot. A lot of the guys, obviously, will hang around because you got practice. But more times than not, when you do have the open date, you kind of turn everybody loose. And you'd have to have some guys hold back. So it's a dynamic that I don't think a lot of fans and even recruits have really thought about. It's important to understand. It's a much different recruiting calendar this year. And we'll have our big cookout in late July, then we'll get into fall camp. And people forget. I mean, guys, we're going to play football next month. People were talking about over the weekend. It's 9 more Saturdays. We're playing football next month. It's crazy to think about that, right? And it's like I'm thinking about baseball already, right? We just had the College World Series final. I'm thinking, okay, we got to finish up the portal, and later this week you'll have your high school signees report to campus, and then all of a sudden your portal and JUCO guys will be here in August, and next thing you know, we're into fall baseball. We just wrapped the World Series. And so it's not like it used to be. It is very much a 365-day, 12-month-a-year adventure nowadays. There's no off-season for fans. There's always something to keep up with. Because as soon as we get done with the regular season in football, then we're chasing the portal prospects in December, right? We're trying to get the December signing date done. So as soon as we get all that stuff done, then we got bowl practices, and then you got, then next thing you know, you get done with all the bowls and you crown an AFL championship, and then we're in the baseball season. And in the middle of all that stuff, you got spring practice. Throw in basketball on top of it, right? There's just it's a great time to be a college athletics fan, just because of the fact that there's so much for us to cover and there's so much to follow. It's true. But no December official visits. That's a different dynamic for sure. And again, there's so many players that have told me, I'm going to wait and take some visits in December. I'm like, well, the signing day's on the 3rd. Oh, no, I didn't know that. Yeah, it's true. Usually it's been mid to late December. Now it's December 3rd. And then there's talk about even moving it up even more. There's some people out there that want to have a September 1st signing period, get it done, before the season even gets going. And here's my worry with that. If you have a guy that is a December graduate from high school and they're able to sign September 1, are they even going to play their senior season? I mean, seriously, think about that. Hey, I've already proven everything I need to prove in high school. If I'm on a team that's not capable of winning a state championship, I don't want to run the risk of getting hurt. So do I just opt out of my senior year? Do I just not play high school football? I'm just going to spend my time getting my grades in and getting my workouts in and get ready to go enroll in January in college. If you don't think that's going to happen, you're kidding yourself. It's absolutely going to happen. And then you begin to think about, like this year with camps, right? We had so many guys that didn't camp because they're out taking June official visits. So do we start doing prospect camps earlier? Do we start, suggesting to the D1 football committee is like, hey, we need to do spring break camps. We need to be able to have camps when kids can come in because of the fact everybody's taking their visits in June. We need to be able to evaluate these guys and work them out and see if they're capable of playing at this level. And so things continue to move forward. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't see enough wrong with the old way of doing things for us to make all these drastic changes. And we have absolutely changed everything to the point that we're like, well, we want to slow the process down. All we've done is speed it up. Everything that we've done. Everything. And that's one thing that I said when we said we're going to do an early signing period. Why do we need an early sign-in period? Well, because it gets to be so stressful. Do you think it's any less stressful? Guys are just getting forced to sign earlier. Well, if they don't want to sign in December, they'll just sign in February. That's just not how it works. Because many schools out there are saying either you're in or you're out. Either you sign in December or we're going to go sign somebody else and you can go sign with some other school in February. That's already happening. And now all of a sudden you remove their ability to take postseason visits, and it's so difficult for many kids to get here in season. Well, now we got to take our official visits in June. Well, then there's all this pressure then. Oh, we need you to commit, need you to commit, need you to commit. And you see it around the country. And so I just share that because there were a lot of people out there that thought they were fixing something that really wasn't broken. And now here we are in a position now where we may see kids opting out of playing high school football. You say, Steve, I think you're being ridiculous. I think you're being naive. That's exactly what's going to happen. When you have a star player on a team that's rebuilding or young, they don't have an opportunity to really compete for a state championship, they're not going to run the risk of injury. Right? And you can say, but Steve, I don't agree with that. Well, you know, we've defended the bowl opt-outs, so why would this be any different? Well, they've got nothing to gain from playing in the bowl game. Well, you could offer that you got nothing to play in the game against Northwestern State or against Bowling Green or Alcorn State or, for that matter, Memphis. It's all for entertainment. It's all for building a brand. It's true. So that's what we're going to do. We'll just decide what games are important enough for me to go get dressed out and play in. I'm telling you, we've got some people out there in the leadership of athletics that have ruined athletics. I would love for it to go back to the traditional National Signing Day in February. I would love that. And give everybody the opportunity to have all the in-home visits that they need. And that's another thing that's going away too, right? Remember how it used to be? Like the Saturday after the Egg Bowl, everybody would hit the road and they would recruit all the way up to the holidays. And then all of a sudden you bring in guys and visits basically every month, every weekend the month of January. And then everybody would sign in February. And I don't want to have this whole get off my lawn conversation. But I think what you're doing now is you're handicapping both student athletes and coaches, because the coaches have to make quicker decisions on evaluations, in many respects without the benefit of camps, because you've ruined that, and you're expecting recruits to make decisions without having the opportunity to take more visits. You can say, but Steve, they removed the cap. Yeah, well, when do you have time to take them? You can answer that. You look at the recruiting calendar. You can see if you don't take it in June, you're going to get an abbreviated visit in season and not have the full benefit of getting a chance to speak with players and have the time to hang out with them and really kind of soak in what it's like to be a student athlete. And then you got to sign in December. And for many of them, you're going to be in the middle of playoffs, getting ready to play a state championship. And so, again, I think we have done some things that don't make a lot of sense, that had some unintended consequences. And I think there's some people that are kind of smugly satisfied with their intelligence without having an opportunity to be reasonable about the consequences of those decisions. That's my take on it. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. I love the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. I suspect that you will too when you have an opportunity to stay there. Some friends of mine used it a few months back. I went and hung out. I love the place. I've toured it. Listen, if you're bringing a large group to town, whether it be for a ball game weekend or maybe a midweek retreat, and I would encourage you to look into that, Mom, right? Everybody can get a couple days off. Dad's got vacation time he hadn't used yet. Maybe this year you can't afford to take the kids to Disney. Maybe you don't have time to go take that big extravagant vacation, or maybe you want to get everybody together. Maybe it's you get your sisters together, your brothers together, and get all the nieces and nephews together under one roof. And let's just have a little family event. We'll take turns cooking because we got a full-service kitchen in there. We can stock all that. Everybody can go to Walmart together, and everybody can cook one meal a night, right? You got that wet bar, so when the kids go to bed, you can have an adult beverage, and everybody can sit out on that back porch. There's plenty of things to do. 5 bedrooms, 2 bath. That big back porch area. It is 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. And I have so many people that tell me, my friends that say, you know what, I'd love to come up there in the off season and kind of enjoy Starkville. Because game day and weekends, it's so busy. I'd love to be able to go up there and go to all my favorite shops, go to all my favorite restaurants, and I'd have to wait, better selection, it's not so stressful. Well, I'm providing you that opportunity now. Come stay at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse, whether it be a weekend or a midweek thing. The midweek thing makes perfect sense to me. Like, the kids are out of school, right? And you got vacation time. Use that vacation time. And how nice would it be just to come up here to Starkville and just spend a few days, right? And you can ride around, have a good time, have some of your college friends meet you, whether it's a guys' weekend, girls' weekend, couples' weekend, family weekend, or that midweek adventure. I think it's a great opportunity for you to do something super cool with your family and just kind of get away from the hustle and bustle. Let's get away from the house. Yeah, it's true. Now, when you Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, you're going to have some options come up to book. You can book through Airbnb. You can book through VRBO. And if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. However, if you want to save some money, book through the Evolve website and use promo code BSR10. That's BSR10, the number 10, BSR10. Get you 10% off your stay. Maybe you don't want to save money. Maybe you're like, Steve, I got so much money, I want to spend as much as I can. Okay, then fine. Don't use the promo code. But I'm the kind of guy that if it's free, it's me. Yeah, I want to save money whenever I can. And so we can give you a great place to stay in your favorite town in the world right here in Starkville, Mississippi at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Be sure and check it out today. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about some portal stuff for baseball. Now, we're still looking for a position player and maybe two. Like, if we get the right two, I believe we would take two, right? That's how I feel. And because, we talked about we'd like to get one more position player and 3 arms. I could see a scenario if we get the right combination, we go 2 and 2. I think that's a possibility. I'm not going to say it's a probability, but we're not going to turn away good players. But at the end of the day, there is roster limits, and of course, we've had some other guys go in the portal. Gabriel Larry, many of you may not have heard of him, transferred up here. Amani's younger brother, he goes in the portal today, as did Judd Files. Judd's a guy that's a very talented guy. He just hadn't been able to get right since he's been here, and he goes in the portal. And we need those roster spots, and I think those guys need a career reset. They need an opportunity to go somewhere that they're going to play. As we say all the time on the Boneyard, you only get a short time in life to play sports, and nobody wants to be a bench warmer. That's how life is. And I wouldn't want anybody on my team that's content just to be on the team. Right, you want to be able to contribute. You want guys that are competitors, and even if you don't get as much playing time, you want to chase that guy in front of you, and he's got to beat you out for a spot. And so sometimes you recruit over kids, right? That's the reality of it. So we got a little room to work here, but the NCAA limits rosters, and as we get into next year, of course, it's going to be a smaller roster than normal. They're trying to dilute the talent a little bit. They're trying to make it a little more parity, I guess, in college baseball. I think that's really kind of an anti-SEC rule. Nobody will convince me otherwise. It's like, hey, they're stockpiling all the talent in the SEC. It's not fair. So let's limit the number of scholarships so some of the better players go elsewhere. My thing about that is just be better, invest in baseball. Now, Root from ECU committed to Arkansas today. And he's a guy that we were on, State was on from the very beginning. They got down the finalists with Arkansas, Mississippi State, but the reality of it is you get no points for second. Now, one thing that I want to share here, because there's some people out there that have a different opinion from mine, and that's fine. I suspect that mine is probably more informed than theirs, and that's okay. There are some things that I've got strong opinions about that I don't know as much about as I probably should. But I'm not panicking about recruiting. I did not expect to get Root. I really thought he would end up going to Georgia or Florida, but he ends up going to Arkansas and visited Texas over the weekend. Didn't really like it there, and so now he's headed to Arkansas. They're kind of selling him on, hey, you're going to be the next Hagen Smith. I don't know if that's fair or not. I don't know what their development plan is. I know Hagen Smith was a projected first-round pick even out of high school, so I don't know how much development they had to do other than to get Hagen Smith healthy. The guy was a stud coming in. But all that I understood, we're on about, 15, 16 guys for these last few spots. And so we're going to get some guys. And there's not a premium arm in the portal like there has been. I would submit to you, Root is probably the best guy in the portal. And he's headed to Arkansas. And so, yeah, that's a loss. That's a miss for us. We recruited him. He came in for a visit, and we didn't get him. That's a miss. It is. But there are a lot of guys out there that I would suggest probably have even better resumes than, say, Cal Steven did and Nate Dome did. And Justin Parker, I know, is on these guys. And I would submit to you that, again, Justin Parker is going to get the guys that he needs to get. I have no questions or doubts about that. And I think we have signed some good offensive players, but we need that middle-of-the-order guy. You know what I'm saying? You need that one guy that's the circle guy. You need that one guy that everybody wants to pitch around. And the good thing is, I think you have got some solid pieces to build around him to construct a really good lineup. But we're not done yet. Does that make sense? We're not done yet. Now, of the 4 guys that have committed, I did the math for you, they are collectively hitting 300 with 52 home runs and 189 RBI. They're 24 of 26 in stolen bases. We're on some other guys that are double-digit home run guys and double-digit stolen base guys. And you start thinking about this, best case scenario for us is that Dante Nori comes to school. And that's still, again, going to boil down to how the draft goes. Best case scenario for us, Dave Mershon comes back, and then you've got he and Dylan Cupp both to play in the middle. That's a very elite middle, right? And you start thinking about Dante Nori out there. Ross Highfield, I'm a Ross Highfield fan. I think he is a second-day draft pick next summer. I think he probably goes in, probably second, third, fourth round. I think he certainly goes in top 10. I think Ross is a dude. And I don't know that you guys have seen the best of Ross yet. It's true. I think Ross Highfield's best baseball is ahead of him. I'm a huge Ross fan. And you got 4 scholarship catchers right now. Jackson Owen, of course, still around. Joe Powell, of course. I'm sure we'll have to get a waiver for him because the clock's about to expire. But that shouldn't be a problem. And you say that, and it seems like it always is. And then, of course, you got Stevens Spalletta. So I think we're okay catching-wise, but provided we need to make sure that Ross is healthy, right? And Joe Powell can be a solid second guy for us, for sure. And maybe Jackson Owen can catch some in the midweek for you. But, yeah, I'm fine with that aspect of it. But when you start running the numbers here, and we have seen, sometimes it takes these portal guys a while to get going. Monty Larry, people forget, when he first got here, you couldn't get him out. In non-conference play, he was constantly getting on base. Yeah, Colton Ledbetter. We had those guys hitting 1-2. And then as we got into SEC play, things began to kind of deteriorate because it's not just the quality of pitching you face, it's the quality of coaching. It's the access to analytics and video that your opponents at your previous school really didn't have. And so now you got the best coaches in college baseball breaking down your swing. You got guys like Justin Parker looking at your hot sheet, seeing where you like it, where your power is. And we're going to fill up the zone with stuff that makes you uncomfortable. Well, that happens to our guys too. And so you look historically and you say, hey, Scotty DeBrule was a great transfer for us. And I'd venture to say, I don't know if we win a national championship without him. I mean, there was some times he was up and down a little bit too his 1 year here, but an elite defender and a guy that knew how to handle a bat, really knew how to work backside, a guy that knew how to work counts, right? Very valuable member of our team. Then you go get R.J. Yeager, who was a guy that was nominated for the Ferris Trophy. And then you get Colton Ledbetter, right? And so I think we've done a good job evaluating positional players in the portal since the portal became a thing. On the pitching side, last year, we got some guys who came in and really helped us. But I think a lot of that is really in concert with Justin Parker. Now, again, we're involved with several guys. And listen, we didn't expect to get Root. We hoped to get Root. But again, Arkansas was kind of a surprise to me because I was really more worried about Florida and Georgia. But all that I understood, there are a lot of guys out there that are like Cal Steven. There are a lot of guys out there with a resume like Nate Dome. And guys, Nate Dome don't be surprised if you look up here in a few years and Nate Dome is pitching on Sunday Night Baseball. That guy's a worker. I mean, every time I would go to the complex during the offseason, I'd run into Nate. Every time. I'd be in there, he'd be in there working the bands by himself or working the medicine ball. Constantly. And so Justin Parker is a guy that I know that will find some guys. I mean, and that's the thing you think. I went back and pulled up the thread last year when Cal Steven committed. And I'm not going to embarrass you guys, but there were a few people, and a couple people, their bad baseball takes are no longer part of my community, and I'm very grateful for that. They'd say, well, he's a good stopgap guy for us. He's a good fallback guy for us. And the guy ends up being, a 3 or 4 time All-American? Selected by 3 or 4 different institutions and organizations as an All-American? That's a success, right? And so when I look at some of the guys that were on that maybe have been a little bit up and down, I think Cal was 7-4 in 2023 at Purdue. I think 7-4 is right. And there are people like, oh, this guy's never be a weekend starter for us. He ends up being our Friday night guy. And again, I don't want to, point a finger in a wound here. But I think about what if Nate had stayed healthy, we could have had one of the best rotations in the country. It's true. And now you think about next year, Pico's going to be one of your guys on the weekend. Maybe he's your Saturday guy, maybe he's your Sunday guy. So, but you got to find 2 other guys out there that are frontline starters. And you may have to go get some guys that are a little bit scratch and dent. And one of the things that I have learned, and I know a lot of baseball people, and I've talked to them about some of the guys that we're on. So you know what, Steve? The problem isn't the stuff. The problem was pitch selection. And sometimes that's what happens. You go back to 2023, and it was a very common conversation on our message boards, is that our pitch calling was very predictable under Foxhall. And you had guys out there that didn't have Will Bednar and Landon Sims stuff trying to have a Will Bednar and Landon Sims game plan. Couldn't execute it because they just didn't have the same level of stuff. And so, listen, when I coached high school baseball, I used to call pitches too. And some guys are like a video game, right? You can just say, hey, throw this, throw that, and you can just throw crazy stuff on wild counts and things like that and keep people off balance. And there are other guys out there that don't have that same level of skill, and you have to kind of change and alter the way you call pitches and you locate pitches to make them be successful. And I think that's probably the thing that Justin Parker did better than anything else. Not just the fact that he made our guys better, more athletic, but he called games that they could execute. You can't have a cookie-cutter approach. And so I'm happy with where we are with position, but we still need a middle-of-the-order guy. We still need one more bat that's going to make this lineup really go. That's true, right? I can be happy and not be satisfied, right? I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied until we get 1, maybe 2 more guys offensively. 1 more, I think you're good, and maybe if you trade out a pitching spot for a position guy, I think you're great. But you got to get at least 2 pitchers and possibly 3, and maybe you get 2 starters and a bullpen piece, or maybe you get guys like Nate Dome, guys that can kind of fill different roles for you. You go out there and get them. Maybe you get a long relief guy. Maybe you get a starter that, maybe a guy that could be an opener for you 1 week and then, first guy to bullpen the next. You need options. But no, I'm not panicking at all because I guess maybe because of the fact I know more of the names. And you say, but Steve, just tell us. Well, there's only so many things that I can share for public consumption. But as we have some guys that we're not on, I'm happy to tell you that, no, we're not on those guys. But that's not to play keep away or be cryptic, but we're just trying to keep updated on this stuff. And there's some guys out there that'll be good pitchers. And listen, just so you know, because I get this all the time, there are some Power 5 pitchers that we're on. There are some SEC and ACC pitchers that we're on. And I don't just mean some unproven redshirt freshman guy. There are some guys out there in Power 5 conferences on the pitching side that we're on and that we brought in for visits and other guys that we'll bring in for visits, right? That's true. But I just encourage you to hang in there and let's judge the class by what it looks like in the end, right? And I really felt like 2 years ago, LSU, I thought LSU had the best portal class and we were probably second, to be honest with you. We didn't make anything of it. They did. We never got that one big arm. And there's not a Paul Skeens or a Luke Holman. Root's probably the closest thing to Luke Holman. But there's no Paul Skeens in the portal. It's true. There's not. There's not that guy that's going to be on the cover of your media guide. That guy's not in the portal. Now, he may get in the portal. Tomorrow's the last day to enter the portal. unless you've had a coaching change like A&M or Texas. But I think that that's all going to sort itself out, and I really don't think that those guys are a factor for us anyway. But all that understood, I just encourage you to kind of hold on to the rope here and not fall into this rhetoric, because I think it's important too. There's some people out there that are convinced that everybody that we follow on Twitter we've offered and has become a priority, and then when they commit somewhere else, people just lose their minds. Like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? We didn't even offer the kid. Just because we do our due diligence and reach out to a kid and kind of gauge their interest doesn't mean that they were a priority target. But there are some people in the internet community who will tell you otherwise. I'm here to tell you that it's not correct. All right, if you hadn't done so, go to dutynoblebook.com and you can pre-order The Dude, The Life and Times of Duty Noble. While you're there, you can pick up When the Bottom Falls or any of my sports titles. And, of course, The Dude will be shipped off to print here very, very soon. And we hope to have it back late August, early September. Once I get a release date, we'll tell you. I know many of you have already pre-ordered and you're eagerly awaiting your book. And I'm eager for you to have it. Looking and reading through that thing over the weekend, going through the editing notes and answering questions and providing some clarity on some things that may have been a little bit cloudy. It was a lot cleaner than I expected it to be, and I worked really hard to kind of make sure that it was. But I can tell you, and I know that I'm biased, it is the best thing that I have ever written. This is the greatest gift I think that I can ever give the Mississippi State family. I shared on Facebook yesterday. People always said, Steve, this book was great. I enjoyed this. And it means so much to me to hear that. And I would say, I hadn't written My Time to Kill yet. And I think I have now. Even though it's not a novel, I think The Dude is the book in many respects that I think maybe defines my writing career. And that's not to say that I didn't make some mistakes. I'm sure I did. That's the beauty of the first edition, right? But all that understood, I think this is a book that every Mississippi State fan should have. There's some stories in there that you don't know that you need to know. Simple as that. About the history of our university and how we've navigated through some very difficult times as a family. And again, if you hadn't done so, please come float with us at True Rest Float Spa of Starkville, 662-268-7601. Good chance you can get in there tomorrow, right? Make the appointment. You'll be glad you did. And starting at midnight tonight, we're going to run this, I don't know, a couple weeks maybe. There's going to be a promotion at Gene's page. Your first month for $1. If you're a new or a returning subscriber, 1 month of access for $1. And we'll get you through the month of July. And of course, it's 1 month from the day you sign up. And if you're currently a monthly sub, and you want to go annual, you can get it at 50% off the regular subscription price. So $1 for a month starting July 2nd at midnight. So by the time many of you hear this show, that promotion will be available. Again, that's midnight, July 2nd. So starting Tuesday morning at midnight, and we're going to run it for about 10 days or 2 weeks or so. And 1 month for just $1. You've always wanted to try Gene's page. You want to see what all the fuss is about. Come be a part of our community. And I tell you, there's a lot of knowledgeable posters that share some very valuable information for you. And you can kind of join in the conversation. It's a big, happy family. And so we encourage you to come be a part of that. But we welcome all viewpoints, too. I'm not the Pollyanna that some people make me out to be. I think dialogue is good. And some people say, Steve, I wish you'd ban so-and-so. You got to have some villains. You got to have some people at times that can provide a counterpoint. Because if we all thought and felt the same way, it'd get very boring very, very quickly. Now, people break rules. I have to get rid of them. It's true. Got to let them read for a little while. But the reality of it is that we all want the same things. And I encourage you to come be a part of our family over at genespage.com, the Mississippi State affiliate for 247 Sports. Until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.